Have you ever felt as if you are living like someone else is holding the reins, while you quietly follow along, still telling yourself that you are fine? You wake up, do what must be done, say what should be said, then reassure yourself that it is all just responsibility. But Nietzsche would see through every layer of that self-deception and ask the question you do not want to hear. Are you directing your life, or are you merely being directed? For Nietzsche, human beings do not collapse because of failure. They collapse because they have never lived according to their own will. They call resignation maturity, call withdrawal peace, call lifeless repetition life. But beneath those definitions lies the truth he forces you to confront. No one is weak because they lack opportunity. They are weak because they cannot master themselves. Self-mastery is not a skill for self-improvement, but a journey of stripping away every false layer that blinds you. Fear, procrastination, impulsive reactions, borrowed expectations. And this is why you should stay until the end of the video. What follows is not comfortable advice, but Nietzschean cuts into everything that is stripping you of your autonomy. Especially the final lesson, it is the key. If you miss it, you will continue to live your entire life without ever holding the reins of your own being. Number 1. Will to power, the foundation of all strength. Have you believed that your life is controlled by circumstances, fate, or people with more power than you? Nietzsche shatters that illusion from the very first line. All life is driven by a force deeper, older, and stronger than even the instinct for survival. He called it the will to power. The greatest power is not the ability to control the world, but the ability to control yourself. The person who cannot master themselves is always a victim of circumstances, a victim of emotions, a victim of others. One burst of anger can destroy 3 years of effort. One moment of weakness can cost you an opportunity you waited a decade for. One criticism can push you into a hollow emptiness. And so you drift through life like a leaf in the wind. Calm wind makes you happy, strong wind makes you afraid, but you never have the right to choose the direction. In Nietzsche's thought, the weak are always controlled. The strong control themselves. Imagine your mind as a wild horse, powerful, fast, full of energy. If you cannot hold the reins, it will drag you straight into the abyss. But if you tame it, it will carry you farther than any limit you once imagined. Most people never tame their minds. They simply chase their impulses and call that living. Look at the case of Michael, a software engineer, intelligent, full of potential, but completely puppeteered by emotion. One week, he works explosively, then collapses for a month. 3 gym memberships, 3 abandonments because today I'm a bit tired. One comment from his boss is enough to shake his sense of self-worth. When asked why he does not change, he says the sentence Nietzsche heard his entire life. I really want discipline, but I can't control myself. Nietzsche would answer bluntly, coldly, and precisely. If you cannot control yourself, you have no right to speak of freedom. Self-mastery is the starting point of every form of strength Nietzsche wants you to reach, because the person who cannot command themselves will live a life written by others. You can be intelligent, but if emotion rules you, you are still weak. You can be kind, but if fear rules you, you are still weak. You can be talented, but if procrastination rules you, you are still weak. And Nietzsche says, all the suffering of the weak is the same. They live pulled by what is outside, rather than led by what is within. He wrote a sentence sharp as a blade. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. Whoever cannot give orders to themselves will be ordered by the world instead. The will to power is not a shout. It is the silent lift that pulls you out of mediocrity, out of habits that rot the mind. It is the strength that makes you sit down to work when your body wants to lie down. When attacked, you do not react by instinct, but by intelligence. When fear appears, you do not run from it, but ask it. What did you come here to teach me? Imagine that within you there are two forces, a ruler and one who is ruled. Every choice you make is a vote. If you vote for weakness, you live like a slave. If you vote for strength, the day will come when you become your own sovereign. And when that moment arrives, you understand something profoundly Nietzschean. Self-mastery is not merely the path to power, it is power itself. From the moment you learn to command yourself, the world no longer has the right to command you. Number 2. No self-mastery equal to being ordered by others. And once you understand that self-mastery is not just the path to power, but power itself, Nietzsche forces you to face a truth so cold it is brutal. Every time you fail to master yourself, you sign an invisible contract, allowing others to direct your life. You think a lack of discipline is just a small habit. You think going off plan is just one off day. You think letting impulse drag you along is just temporary emotion. But Nietzsche cuts through every excuse with a blade laid flat on the table. When you are not strong enough to govern yourself, you will live by the will of others. Your boss gives orders, you comply. Friends invite, you nod. Society demands, you submit. And the most frightening part is that you think this is freedom. The person who loses self-sovereignty lives like a rudderless boat. Whichever current is stronger pushes them along. I once heard the story of Daniel, a creative designer, but utterly disorganized. He let every task slide until the deadline because he was waiting for inspiration. He slept at 3 a.m., woke at 11 a.m., always saying, "Tomorrow, I'll get back on track." He let messages from his partner, friends, and clients decide his mood for the entire day. When his boss said, "You need to redo the entire design tonight," Daniel felt pressured, treated unfairly. But what he did not see was the truth Nietzsche wanted him to face. Others were not controlling him. His own looseness opened the door for them. No one can command a person who knows how to command themselves. This may sound philosophical, but neuroscience confirms Nietzsche was right. The prefrontal cortex, the center of discipline and self-control, weakens when you repeatedly surrender to impulse. Checking your phone to escape emptiness, watching videos for stimulation, procrastinating for quick pleasure. The brain runs on a ruthless principle. What you repeat becomes your life algorithm. If you repeat surrender, you become the led. If you repeat resistance, you become the one who commands. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is a neural pathway carved by repeated choice. Nietzsche described this through two modes of living: slave morality and master morality. Slave morality is living to please, to stay safe, to avoid standing out, living from fear of rejection. It is a reactive life. Others decide, you adapt. That is Daniel, staying up all night because of his boss's demand, not because of his own goal. That is those who always nod, not because they want to, but because they are afraid. Master morality, by contrast, is the life of someone who sets their own goals, takes responsibility, decides who they will become, and above all, does not ask permission to exist. This is not arrogance. It is standing firmly in will, something that cannot be borrowed. Nietzsche also said something that those who live by slave morality find hard to accept. No one can build you the bridge on which you, and only you, must cross the river of life. Others do not oppress you. The weakness inside you grants them that power. This is not blame, it is awakening. In the same circumstance, the slave sees pressure, the master sees choice, the slave sees limits, the master sees opportunity. The slave asks, "What do they want from me?" The master asks, "What do I want from myself?" Self-mastery begins the moment you realize that outer chaos is only a reflection of inner chaos. And when you accept this, you stop blaming the world. You start fixing the only point you truly control, yourself. Nietzsche would smile if you understood this. Self-mastery is not fighting others. Self-mastery is stopping your betrayal of yourself. And when you do that, no one can command you anymore, because you have become the sole authority over your own life. If you are tired of living by other people's will, leave in the comments the first thing you will reclaim for yourself. Not to show anyone, but to send a silent commitment to your true self. That from today, you will no longer walk on someone else's legs, live on borrowed will, or let your life be led by any hand other than your own. Number 3, strengthening the will, not with motivation, but with discipline. And once you are clear-eyed enough to see that no one can dominate you unless you hand them that power, the next question must rise. How do you make your will strong enough to lead yourself? Nietzsche did not believe in impulsive motivation that flares up and dies. He believed in something colder, more enduring, more unforgiving, discipline. Not discipline as self-punishment, but discipline as forging the soul in fire. The will does not grow from emotion. It grows from self-control repeated until it becomes instinct. Imagine the will as a sword. Inspiration only makes it flash for a moment. Discipline is what sharpens the blade until it can cut through life itself. Every time you refuse a momentary craving, 5 extra minutes of sleep, a sugar urge, a phone glance when the mind feels empty, you carve another layer of steel into your will. The person who cannot endure small discomfort will collapse under great trials. Nietzsche said, "What does not destroy me makes me stronger." But his focus was not on grand storms. It was on your ability to train yourself daily in moments no one sees. In Greek mythology, everyone remembers the 12 labors of Heracles, but few speak of the years of discipline forced upon him, carrying stones, hauling water, training under the sun, enduring hunger, cold, and solitude. The crowd sees the triumph. Nietzsche sees the foundation. Heracles did not become Heracles when he slew monsters. He became Heracles during nameless hours of training. Nietzsche looks at you through that same lens. Not at your bright moments, but at the small choices you repeat in silence. Discipline is not foolish self-torture. Nietzsche despised all fake asceticism. He recognized only one kind of discipline in service of inner freedom. That means you do not bow to every desire simply because it knocks. You learn to say no to yourself before you learn to say no to others. You understand that freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is doing what is right, even when every part of you wants to escape. True discipline begins with small things: controlling food to master desire, cutting procrastination to master time, reducing dependence on social media, nicotine, instant pleasure to master the nervous system. None of this aims to make you suffer more. All of it aims to make you sharper, harder, more grounded. The person who cannot endure mild hunger, brief sleepiness, or 10 minutes of silence will shatter the moment life throws a small disruption at them. Nietzsche understood that the will does not grow by itself. It is forged layer by layer. And this forging is never theatrical. It happens in moments when you want to sink into comfort but step beyond it. When you want to delay but open the laptop. When you want to quit but take one more step. The will is not born in shouting. It is born in the cold silence of self-discipline. And when you cultivate this kind of discipline, you begin to see what Nietzsche saw in truly strong people. They do not need motivation to act. They do not wait for inspiration. They do not depend on encouragement. When you reach that threshold, the will is no longer something you try to create. It becomes a self-running engine. Discipline is no longer effort. It becomes identity. Self-control is no longer a goal. It becomes freedom. And at that point, you do not try to be strong. You are strength itself, because you have learned how to command yourself. Number 4. Mastering anger, the measure of intelligence. If discipline is the foundation of inner strength, then the ability to navigate the most powerful human emotion, anger, is the merciless measure of intelligence. Nietzsche once wrote a sentence that sounds gentle but cuts through illusion. There is more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy. It is not comfort. It is a warning that the moment you lose sovereignty to emotion, every philosophy in your mind becomes decoration. It is not that intelligent people do not get angry. They do, but they do not let anger drag them like a beast without reins. They understand what the weak avoid. Mastering anger is not repression, nor pretending calm. It is the ability to create a gap between stimulus and response, where the will speaks before instinct. That gap is where the true quality of the soul reveals itself. Consider a seemingly small example that exposes an entire inner life. Emma, 33, kind but emotionally unstable like a leaf in a storm. If her partner comes home late without texting, she immediately spirals and explodes. One careless joke at dinner can make her say words she later despises. Each time she gets angry, she apologizes. Each apology comes with a promise to change, but the cycle never breaks. One night, her partner says, "I'm not afraid of your anger. I'm afraid of your emotions deciding for you." That is the moment Nietzsche wants you to see clearly. Anger does not just steal calm, it steals autonomy. Whoever has not mastered anger has not mastered life. The wise do not react immediately. The strong do not let stimuli rule them. They know that not every signal deserves a response. The impulsive act by reflex, the self-mastered act by vision. Self-mastery is the right to choose, and anger is the sharpest test of whether you possess that right. Modern psychology calls this ability cognitive pause, interrupting instinct before it takes control. Nietzsche expressed it long ago, with intuition sharper than any study. The moment you create a gap between what provokes you and what you choose to do, you shift from victim to sovereign. That gap may be just one breath, but it marks the boundary between a life of reflex and a life of will. Remember, no warrior swings a sword simply because they are provoked. Survivors are observers, choosers of timing. Slowness, not impulsiveness, keeps them alive. Your anger is like a war drum urging you to charge, but the self-mastered understand that the most important battlefield is not outside, it is in their mind. And the victor is the one who holds the sword steady before acting. Nietzsche wrote, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." This is not about perspective, but the cost of height. As you rise, External stimuli and provocations multiply. The hot-tempered are dragged down by every minor collision. The self-mastered know that the higher they stand, the more they must govern reaction, because that alone keeps them from falling. Anger is the easiest emotion to exploit. Touch the right button and you sabotage yourself. One challenge and you walk into a trap. Others do not need to strike you. They only need you to strike yourself. Those who command their presence do not let anyone touch their emotional triggers. They choose when to speak, when to act, when to remain silent. And that chosen silence, not explosion, is what proves intelligence. We have reached the midpoint of the journey, and before moving on, pause for exactly one breath. Ask yourself silently, who do I choose to be the next time anger arrives? If the answer echoes, even faintly, write the word sovereign in the comments. It is not a word. It is a silent oath you sign with yourself. Number 5, mastering decisions, the power of yes and no. And once you have learned to master anger, the explosive emotion that can tear apart inner order, Nietzsche leads you down to a deeper layer of self-mastery, mastery of decision. Because after emotion, the force that shapes fate the fastest is choice. An impulsive reaction can ruin a moment, but a wrong decision can ruin an entire life. Nietzsche forces you to face a truth he hurled into modernity like a blade driven into stone. When you look into an abyss, the abyss also looks into you. When all old values collapse, when God is dead, you have no support left except yourself and the choices you dare to sign your name to. Human beings are not weak because they lack intelligence, but because they do not know what they want. They drift through life, scattering yes to avoid trouble, to keep the surface calm, to avoid disappointing anyone. But the price of that comfort is the direction of their entire life. The strong are different. The strong select. The strong know where their aim is and dare to say no to everything that pulls them off that axis. Nietzsche would say, true power lies in refusal, not in agreement. Imagine your life as a ship on the open sea. Every decision is a small turn of the rudder. A single yes to something unnecessary shifts the rudder by just 1 degree. But given enough time, it takes you to a continent completely foreign to the person you wanted to become. No is not rigidity. No is how you protect direction. And in the Nietzschean spirit, freedom does not come from choosing more, but from choosing correctly. The story of Steve Jobs reveals this with brutal clarity. In 1997, when he returned to Apple, the company had over 350 products. Within a few months, he cut them down to 10. Engineers protested. The business division protested. Investors panicked. But Jobs said only one thing: if we pursue everything, we pursue nothing. That spirit is entirely Nietzschean. The strong are not fragmented by opportunity. They use will like a blade to cut away everything that does not belong to them. Greatness, like every sharp sword, begins with elimination. Nietzsche understood that most people do not lack opportunity. They lack the ability to refuse the wrong opportunity. Life is full of invitations, full of seductions, full of doors that tempt you to try. What is missing is the capacity to close doors, the capacity to protect time, energy, and future. In Nietzsche's eyes, the one who cannot refuse will have life choose for them. And nothing is more ruthless than leaving fate in the hands of randomness. The problem of modern people is not a lack of choice, but that they choose too much, too fast, too unconsciously. They say yes to be liked. They say yes to avoid conflict. They say yes out of fear of missing out, but every unconscious yes is a no to themselves. Nietzsche would call this slave morality, reactive living, accommodating living, living to be accepted. By contrast, the person Nietzsche wants you to become understands that decision is the highest form of power an individual can possess. No amount of money, background, or luck is stronger than the ability to decide in the right direction. Such a person knows what they want, and therefore accepts trade-offs. Accepting disappointing others so as not to disappoint themselves. Accepting the loss of relationships so as not to lose the path. Accepting difficult truth instead of easy error. Self-mastery is not controlling your whole life at once. It is controlling every yes and every no, every small cut that shapes the form of your soul. In the end, Nietzsche wants you to understand this. Self-mastery is not about becoming perfect. Self-mastery is daring to choose correctly, especially when correctness is the hardest option. When you have the courage to defend your will through cold, precise decisions, you step into the highest form of freedom. Freedom from distraction, from temptation, from the calls that try to drag you back to the average. And that is ultimate power. The power of a person who knows exactly where they are going and allows nothing to pull them off course. Number 6. Mastering the body, the foundation of intelligence. Freedom cannot live in a weakened body, and the will cannot rise in an exhausted one. Self-mastery is not only an act of the mind, it is an act of the entire being you carry with you. Nietzsche rejected every philosophy that separated body and soul. He never believed the spirit could be strong while the body withered. He once wrote, "All great thoughts are conceived while walking." A sentence that seems light, yet carries the weight of a truth modern science confirms. When the biological foundation collapses, the entire mental structure falls with it. Nietzsche saw what many philosophers before him avoided. The body is not a lower part. The body contains intelligence more primal than reason. Instinct, intuition, vital force, all grow from this ground. A tired body softens the will. A depleted body destabilizes the mind. You cannot demand sharpness when you sleep 4 hours and live in prolonged exhaustion. You cannot expect discipline when the body no longer has the energy to support the decisions you want to keep. The mind is not an immortal warrior. It is only as strong as the armor that protects it. A viewer of the channel, Elena, is an example closer than close. She tried to improve herself through books, goals, plans, but every week she failed for one reason only. Her body had no energy left to realize what she understood. Staying up late, eating erratically, skipping training, working under accumulated fatigue. One day, when she complained, "My mind is too weak," her friend replied, "Your mind isn't weak, your body is desperate." And that was the moment Elena saw what Nietzsche always wanted humans to face. The will cannot be forged in a body that is withering. Every warrior needs armor. Every will needs a body strong enough to stand. Nietzsche believed caring for the body was not a trivial lifestyle choice. It was a philosophical act. Every philosophy of strength collapses if the one carrying it no longer has the strength to stand up. He valued movement, sunlight, healthy biological rhythm, clean nutrition, not to be healthy, but to protect the foundation of the will. A properly nourished body is the soil where mental strength takes root. When you move, you learn to control breath, heart rate, pain, and thus learn to control the mind. When you stand in sunlight, the nervous system reorganizes. Thinking, becomes clear. When you sleep enough, the brain restores decision-making capacity. These are not small details. They are the biological architecture of power. The problem of modern humans is not a lack of knowledge. It is that they have abandoned their bodies. They try to think deeper while sleeping less. Try to be more disciplined while eating chaotically. Try to be calmer with a nervous system drained by screens and frantic rhythms. Nietzsche would say, "You cannot master the mind before you master the body." A strong will is built on a stable biological foundation. A sharp intelligence is nourished by deep breathing, real light, proper sleep, regular movement. Self-mastery is not only a spiritual journey, it is a biological one. When you regulate the body, you regulate the mind. When you care for the body, you reinforce the foundation of intelligence. When you respect biological rhythm, you respect the life force operating within you. And when you begin to treat the body as a sacred part of the living journey, a deeply Nietzschean truth opens up. Intelligence is not forged only in thought. It is tempered in every breath, every run, every hour of sleep, every time sunlight touches the skin. To master the body is to master the foundation of freedom. And when that foundation is firm, every other part of self-mastery becomes natural, because you have begun building strength from the place Nietzsche always wanted you to turn back toward, the very body carrying you through life. Number 7, mastering the heart. And once you have built the foundation through the body, Nietzsche leads you to the final and most dangerous level of self-mastery, mastering the heart, because he understood what those obsessed only with power refuse to see. The mind is not defeated by external enemies, but by a heart never trained to love correctly. Nietzsche was a genius, but his life was also a tragedy of solitude, proof of the cold truth that intelligence unsupported by proper feeling will eventually burn itself out. He wrote, "Invisible threads are the strongest ties." It is precisely these invisible emotional threads that either hold a person upright or drag them into the abyss. In self-mastery, you do not only need a strong will, a strong body, a strong intellect. You need a heart lucid enough not to hand power to the wrong hands. Many think the heart is secondary, a luxury. Nietzsche thought the opposite. Without mastery of the heart, every other strength collapses from within. A person can be disciplined as steel, rational as iron, strong as stone, but love wrongly, trust wrongly, attach wrongly, and they can lose the entire self they built with blood. Sophia, a friend of mine, is a merciless illustration. She lived with principles, discipline, efficiency, regular training, constant self-development. But when she entered a relationship that made her shrink, apologize for things that were not her fault, and constantly doubt her worth, all her strength dissolved. She became anxious, sleepless, less effective, and most importantly, she could no longer hear herself. When asked, "Why do you endure this?" she could not answer. But Nietzsche would answer for her. An unmastered heart can pull even intelligence into the abyss. No will is strong enough to save a soul that voluntarily makes itself small. Mastering the heart does not mean closing yourself to life. It is not coldness, numbness, or withdrawal to avoid pain. Nietzsche never praised emotional callousness. For him, human beings need 3 things to live as ascending beings: love, connection, and relationships that do not make them shrink. Not love that throws you into chaos, not connection that makes you smaller, not relationships that force you to deform yourself to be accepted. The heart must be nourished by connections that make you taller, not by those that require you to shrink in order to survive. Part of self-mastery is distinguishing two kinds of emotion: emotion that enlarges the will and emotion that gnaws at it. Those Nietzsche called slaves do not only submit in action, they submit in love. They love those who weaken them, attach to those who cannot see their value, and sacrifice themselves to preserve what does not nourish them. By contrast, those Nietzsche called masters never allow the heart to drag them into self-destruction. They do not choose love out of fear of loneliness. They choose because they understand a truth sharp as a sword. Every relationship you accept is an environment where yourself will either grow or die. To master the heart, therefore, is to dare to ask questions most people avoid. Does this person lead me toward a stronger version or a weaker one? Am I allowed to be myself, or must I become agreeable in order not to be abandoned? That is what Nietzsche wants you to understand. Self-mastery is not forged only in discipline, thought, or body, but in how you love. Because if you do not master the heart, you will lose your mind. But if you do master it, you will touch the rarest form of strength Nietzsche knew. The strength of a soul that does not fear solitude and does not fear love either. If these words make you realize that the one who wounded you most deeply was never someone else, but the heart you placed in the wrong hands, leave a like. Not as support, but as a silent confirmation. I will not shrink myself to be loved ever again. That is the moment Nietzsche called the birth of strength, when you are no longer afraid of losing anyone because you have decided not to lose yourself. Number 8. The happiness of the strong, finding joy in discipline. At the end of this journey, Nietzsche leads you into the deepest layer of self-mastery, finding joy in discipline, a happiness only a hardened soul can reach. Because after you have learned to grasp the will, discipline emotion, shape choices, and train the body, one final question appears like a blade pointing at you. Can you find joy in the very trials that others spend their lives fleeing? Nietzsche believed the weak seek safety, the strong seek becoming. The weak live to avoid pain, the strong live to transcend. Not because they worship suffering, but because they have faced a truth no one wants to confront. No ascent is born in comfort. To master yourself means you must learn to stop bowing before the difficult path. The happiness of the strong is not the soft happiness of the masses. The weak are happy only in favorable conditions. The strong find happiness in overcoming themselves. This happiness is deep, low-toned, like standing on a summit you climbed with bleeding feet. No one gives it to you, and precisely for that reason, no one can take it away. Imagine the journey of self-mastery as climbing a mountain. The weak stand at the foot, waiting for clear skies, companions, courage, and they wait until life is exhausted. The strong step forward, despite cold wind, long roads, and total absence of encouragement. Because they understand, the mountain was not created to discourage you, it was created to enlarge you. Every time you want to lie down but stand up again, every moment you want to let go but take one more step. These anonymous acts are the stones that form the being Nietzsche demands. The mountain does not change, you do. The story of Lucas proves this. He avoided major challenges, changed jobs out of fear of pressure, withdrew from deep relationships out of fear of being seen, avoided big goals out of fear of failure. His life was smooth, and because it was smooth, he shrank. Then the day he lost his job came, and Lucas was forced to face himself. He learned new skills despite difficulty, trained despite pain, entered therapy despite fear. 2 years later, he understood that what changed him was not success achieved, but the fact that he stopped running from himself. That moment is exactly what Nietzsche wants you to see. Joy does not lie in outcomes. It lies in the hardness you build within. And in that solitude, you might hear a lyric. It's always gonna be an uphill battle, but I'm gonna keep climbing. Nietzsche would smile, the smile of one who understands that strength does not come from life going easy on you, but from your ability to keep breathing as the air grows thin. In discipline, you do not only forge the will, you rebirth the self. Each trial opens deeper chambers, never before illuminated, like firelight entering caves you once feared to enter. Nietzsche called this process Verwandlung, transformation. You no longer live to react. You live to shape yourself. And in that transformation, you touch the highest form of happiness, the joy of a soul that can endure, rise, and lead, without needing the world to be gentle with it. The happiness of the strong is not tied to results. It lies in becoming someone capable of carrying the journey. The weak want life to be light. The strong want themselves to be strong. That is why Nietzsche said, "Become who you are." Not advice, an existential sentence. Become what you know you can become, even if that road bears only your own footprints. And when that moment arrives, you understand that self-mastery is not a destination. It is a way of living, a bearing, the foundation of freedom. Not freedom from the world, but freedom from the weaker version of yourself you have already surpassed. Challenge is no longer a threat. It becomes an invitation. Discipline is no longer a burden. It becomes joy. And you become the kind of person Nietzsche considered the rarest of all, a strong soul who finds happiness in the very journey they chose. If you have watched this far, one thing has changed forever. You can no longer return to your old self. What you once called personality, habits, or normal life has been exposed for what it truly was: invisible reins you allowed others, or your own fear, to hold for far too long. Tomorrow may still bring the familiar schedule, familiar people, familiar pressures. But one difference is irreversible. Now you know that self-mastery is not a beautiful theory. It is a responsibility you carry in every decision, every emotion you choose not to flee, every action you take when no one is watching. The video will end. Philosophy will recede. What remains is one person, you and today. The final question is simple, yet fate-deciding. Will you live today as a safe copy or as a real step, however small, toward the person you know you can become? If this message resonates, share the video to pass this strength to someone else. And if you want to walk alongside the journey of becoming yourself in the spirit of Nietzsche, press subscribe. Our journey has only just begun.